Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. The number one Bronco channel in accuracy. We would have 100% accuracy in everything we've been talking about if I didn't screw it up by saying the Broncos wanted Justin Fields. You said Trey Lance, and that's exactly who they really wanted. We would be batting 100% in accuracy. I got to promote that. So we have a very exciting show for all those people out there because we're going to be talking about quarterbacks. I brought out my quarterback mic. And we're not just talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about gods. Like who? Aaron frigging Rodgers. Not just a quarterback, but a god. So I brought out the most important mic in my arsenal. The God mic. Ain't that the truth, though?
That's right on the money.
We're contractually obligated to talk about the quarterback today. Today's a big, heavy quarterback day today. I'm going to give everybody the rundown here. You're going to want to hear all this. And hold on just a second. See, I can't get it right. Here we go. So here is. Well, tell them about your talking point. Just give it just the headline, then we'll go through them all.
I want to talk about how all these STR platforms and these online platforms are talking about the consistency of Teddy Bridgewater in the quarterback room.
Okay, that is going to be a topic of conversation for sure. Here's the big one too, and this will all fall under the umbrella. Does either Bridgewater or Locke really know that they have something in common with each other? And that is Elway and his followers actually don't believe in either one of them. And I will tell you, Dove Valley quarterback decision. I'll tell you what the decision is and why. Rich Scangarella was never. I'm sorry. Locke. Simply an afterthought. Exactly. I'm trying to process this a little bit here. One of the topics is going to be Locke was never a forethought. Locke was brought in as an afterthought. Okay, he was never brought in to be the main guy. I'll talk about that. Breaking, we've seen the championship quarterback model narrative, meaning Elway and Peyton Manning. We'll talk about that. That's something STR was really pounding. So ignore any other quarterback. We just know Manning and Elway. That's the model. With all the hype on the Broncos' offensive player personnel out in Dove Valley, why then is Dove Valley pushing the conservative offensive approach? That's going to be a topic of conversation too. Can quarterbacks come in and wave magic wands and just get it done? This goes back to, we've seen this before with championship quarterback. When they're put in a bad organization, no accountability, structure at the top, a la Colby's point from last week. This was brought up by D-Mac. It was actually a fair question, so I brought it into our discussion. When should have Elway been fired? It was a conversation between D-Mac and Chad Brown. And, of course, the Chad Brown, always tap dancing around the Elway, question. Despite all the one quarterback away hype, will the Broncos' new owner have to clean up Elway's a major mess left by Elway and his spin doctors? So let's get started with your. Maybe we can segue into yours first. Hang on just a second. Okay. Yeah, well, let's talk about yours first. Let's talk about the narrative that Teddy Bridgewater equals consistency.
So the Teddy Bridgewater equals consistency. I have a problem with that because to me, it's not just the quarterback position. And I know this top of a conversation is about the quarterbacks as we're contracted to talk about the quarterbacks.
Contractually obligated, yes.
Yes. So I was thinking about this last night when I was coming home from work. I was thinking about how I would kind of phrase this, but I was going to talk about this in a way that's going to shock people. So when people talk about Teddy Bridgewater and his consistency factor, what about this roster? What about this roster?
Well, it's the best roster. If only Aaron Rodgers would have had this 2021 roster, he would have won 10 Super Bowls. You do know that, right?
But that's why I went 5-11 with 90% of the players still on this roster from a year ago. So, a quarterback, I guess, changes everything. That's not true. But this is talking about the consistency of Teddy Bridgewater. What is the consistency of this team? We have no identity. We have no identity on offense. Who are the players that we've developed? Garrett Bowles and Justin Simmons to a lesser degree. We had to baby Garrett Bowles to get where he was at. And Justin Simmons, I don't think he's a top 5 safety. I wouldn't consider him that. We developed Philip Lindsay. We let him walk. We developed Andy Janovich. We let him walk. Bradley Chubb, if you were on a Super Bowl contending roster, yeah, that would make sense. But what this correlates to the quarterback. What on this team is consistent? What does consistency mean? Consistency means on a year-to-year basis that you are consistently over-exceeding expectations in this one department. In player personnel, this goes right into your player personnel argument. Consistently over the past 5, 6, 7 years, what has this team done? Got rid of player after player after player that made a difference on this team. Now you're going to talk about how Teddy Bridgewater is consistent. This is where my argument comes out. What about the front office that hasn't been consistent over the 5, 6, 7 years when they keep bringing in offense coordinators?
Well, we have no consistent play at either defense or offensive line.
No.
That's
just what I wanted to say about the whole consistency factor about, Teddy Bridgewater is a consistent quarterback. Really? What did he do in Carolina last year?
But he didn't have the 2021 Denver Broncos, which is the overhyped receivers. Give me that. Receivers.
Well, Carolina had a guy named Moore and Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel.
Whoa! They don't count. They don't exist in this make-believe world that Dove Valley Sports Talk Radio and these delusional fans that they're Kool-Aid drinkers have created. That the only Denver has the top. They're just waiting for a quarterback to drop from the heavens. That's how we do business now. Do you know that when Pat Bowlen was here, there was no hype machines. It was roll up our sleeves. Let's get this job done. Okay. And then they later found out that if they develop player personnel and mix it in with a little bit of acquisition, they had a pretty good formula to get John Elway what he needed to win a couple Super Bowls, right? Well, Elway, they've taken the development part of it away, and they've just went into this acquisition. And who they're acquiring? Let me ask you this: isn't the Joe Flacco? I mean, and this is going to go into Locke really quick. Wasn't Joe Flacco the idea? It's the same as it is with Bridgewater. Was the idea with Bridgewater the same as it was with Flacco? Basically, that these guys are going to be consistent. These guys are going to give us the stability. Isn't it the same? Aren't we hearing the same thing again?
I think what we're hearing is what we heard in 2017, in my opinion, is more what we heard in 2017, because when we brought in Joe Flacco, they were all saying that he is going to develop Drew Lock. He's going to help mentor Drew Lock.
That was a side issue. They brought in Joe Flacco because he's been to Super Bowls. He's going to get this team back to the playoffs. They said, you mark my word. He's got what it takes, and he's going to finally bring stability to this is an afterthought. And again, this is why I say, was Drew Lock an afterthought? Of course he was. When they got Joe Flacco was primary. Dove Valley truly believed that Joe Flacco was going to send them to the playoffs. They disregarded everything, all the things we're talking about, the inconsistency all right across the board with the team. When they drafted Drew Lock, I believe very strongly that Elway, all he cared about was Joe Flacco at that time. Rich Scangarello talked Elway, I believe, into drafting Drew Lock. I believe that as an insurance policy, and we know that Flacco, he's good for a couple years. And the whole reason they brought Rich Scangarello in was because they desperately needed to get Joe Flacco a system that he was comfortable in. Because Joe Flacco was going to bring this team to the playoffs. That was all they were talking about.
Sorry to interrupt, but he didn't look that comfortable when he was running the offensive games that he started.
No, well, look at what he's playing behind. And just, again, what were they all laughing about this week? They're talking about Trevor Siemian being, and this goes into, what do we know about quarterbacks? They got to be Elway or Manning. Okay, I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But what I'm saying is that Joe Flacco was just, he was a turnstile. It was a turnstile. And the guy didn't, have a prayer. Maybe you could say the receivership wasn't also that good, but altogether, it wasn't a good product, which I warned about. I said, you cannot bring this guy into this system. But John Elway was convinced that Joe Flacco was going to be this difference maker. We'll bring in Drew Lock as an afterthought, as an insurance policy and the Flacco, it went down in flames so fast. And now I strongly believe, and again, does Drew Lock and Bridgewater know they have something very much in common? I think Elway's counting on those two struggling. And saying, man, it's the quarterbacks. We're just I just believe that Elway is convinced that Aaron Rodgers is going to be here next year. And that's why Dove Valley doesn't care about either one of these quarterbacks. They're not thinking about development. They're not thinking about the future. They're not thinking about franchise building. It's just, the whole model. And again, Sports Talk Radio is saying, we know what they look like. It's Peyton Manning and it's John Elway. Well, wait a minute. So your model, and this echoes Dove Valley, is to ignore any quarterback if it's already not a proven winner. And you're just hoping that every 10 or 15 years, some Aaron Rodgers is going to come falling out of the sky into your lap, and that's going to just somehow magically transform your team. This is the most failed model I've ever heard in my life. There would have been no Patrick Mahomes, for instance, if Kansas City had that same model. And let me ask you this. If Tom Brady gets drafted and goes to Cleveland, do you honestly think history is rewritten and Cleveland becomes all of a sudden magically the Patriots? Yeah, you got to recalculate that. You got to rethink that. It's not going to happen. So, I'm just saying that there's such backwards thinking going on with how this organization is run, how we think about the quarterback position. And yes, the sales is Bridgewater is going to be stability, just like Flacco was. But I think Elway knows that when it's all said and done, they're going to shit can both quarterbacks. This will be a good year to finally shed Drew Lock off of the Denver Broncos. Go ahead.
So there's a lot to unpack there. Number one, I just want to bring up something that you brought up with Paxton Lynch. And this whole stuff reminds me of the Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian stuff. You have a different view on it with the Joe Flacco aspect of it. I kind of see it as the Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch aspect because they were hyping up that quarterback battle like they are now.
Oh, yeah, in that regard, yes.
They wanted consistency with that Super Bowl roster, so they went with Trevor Siemian instead of Paxton Lynch. They wanted consistency in the quarterback room. That's why they went Trevor Siemian instead of Paxton Lynch. There's a reason for that because Paxton Lynch didn't have the mindset. He had the physical traits. But he didn't have the mindset to be an NFL quarterback. We all know this. Now he's in the Canadian Football League. But that's a different subject. But like I said, I knew coming into this offseason that it was going to be a quarterback battle. I was the first one saying that Teddy Bridgewater was going to come here because I knew the relationship with Pat Shurmur and George Payton that he had. I said that the reason why they're going to go get Teddy Bridgewater is because they want consistency and they want a conservative offense. Because what we saw last year was a bunch of turnovers. Now, some of that was Drew Lock's fault, and some of that was Pat Shurmur's play aspects that he was drawing up for Drew Lock and kept telling him to go downfield.
Yeah.
20-plus yards down the field, which we've
20-plus yards.
Those other online platforms for lying to you guys straight to your faces. So all this, to me, is basically a la 2017 with Paxton, Lynch, and Trevor Siemian.
Well, on the surface it is. Yes, I agree. On the surface it is, but when you deep dive into it, I think that. Well, let me tell you what I believe how this is going to play out. I believe that they're looking at the schedule. I believe that they do not believe in Drew Lock. I believe that he was gone. He was dead. Like I said, I always said Drew Lock was a dead man walking, just like Case Keenum, just like Joe Flacco. There was a moment of honesty at Sports Talk Radio on a weekend at night. A guest came on and he said, point blank, he said that Drew Lock was finished when they fired Rich Gangarello. But they were stuck with Drew Lock. Okay, they were stuck with Drew Lock. So Shurmur, he's definitely not a Shurmur guy. He's definitely not. We know that, and we bring in Bridgewater. So this is how I believe it's all going to pan out. I think you need to circle the Ravens and Steelers game on that schedule, because Dove Valley knows what we know in this regard. We know that offensively they're going to struggle in that game. We know the offensive line is going to struggle mightily in that game, both those games. Fairy tales aside about best offensive line, I believe what they want is they're ultimately going to start Drew Lock and looking down the road, say, okay, maybe he can get us 3 wins. And once he struggles with the Ravens, and we don't want Bridgewater having to deal with the Ravens. If it's a disaster with the Ravens, maybe we still start Drew Lock and we can pull him later. And then we can say, well, Bridgewater, we gave Drew Lock a chance. Okay, we can't blame Bridgewater. So he bypasses that gauntlet, that defensive gauntlet that's heading Denver's way. It's still, he's going to have to deal with the Redskins, but So I think they figure if the Broncos can eke out 3 wins out of that, have the offensive line go through the shredder of the Ravens and the Steelers, they can then insert Bridgewater for the rest of the season, patting themselves on the back of a great decision they did, locks through. We don't have to worry about that. And, Bridgewater, it's just like Tampa. We love you, but we're getting Aaron Rodgers. Or they think they are anyway. I also have a take on that. I honestly believe that the Aaron Rodgers, looking after everything that happened, how this whole thing went into the stratosphere, I believe that in the ownership situation, the lack thereof, I believe this is not a desirable place for any quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. I think, go back in my archives. I don't know if you were a part of this when Brady wanted to be. Go look at my Brady is not coming to Denver. When Brady announced it, what did the every mainstream out there? Where was Brady going? The very first place, he was coming into Denver. I had to tell fans on other teams, Steelers, all these other teams. I had to tell them, you're out of your mind if you think Brady is going to come to this team. You're out of your noggin. And what happened when the announcement came, where Tampa Bay came, it was starting, Tampa Bay was like, what? And now they're Tampa Bay. Now, the same people who couldn't figure it out then, we're now Tampa Bay, right? What did Stafford? What was the meme with Stafford?
Denver at first.
He did not want to come here. Did you read those comments of those people? Oh, it was always, it's like as if Denver has control and they just decide not to. Or Detroit got greedy. Stafford said himself, he didn't want to come here because he said where he wanted to go. And this was not it. I believe Aaron Rodgers will be the third, if he goes anywhere, quarterback to snub the Denver Broncos. I truly believe that.
I want to take a couple steps back with the whole quarterback consistency factor. To me, I don't think it's just a surface how I can relate it to 2017, because in 2017 they already gave up on Paxton Lynch.
Well, that's true. Yeah, true.
They drafted him, they gave up on Paxton. It's just all odd Drew Lock again. Now, mind you, I think Drew Lock is a better quarterback than Paxton Lynch. I think he has a more of a willingness to learn than Paxton Lynch, but these two are diametrically similar situations, with the aspect of how this organization just gives up on quarterbacks that they draft instead of developing, setting a system for that certain quarterback, like a Drew Lock with a Rich Spangarillo, like a Paxton Lynch with, I don't know, whoever was there at the time, or, vice versa. But that's how it's just 2017 all over again. And I told everybody, I warned everybody. I said Stafford wasn't coming here. I said Rodgers isn't coming here. I even said Brady wasn't coming here. I wasn't a part of your channel at the time, but I agreed with your logic on it. And I knew all these other quarterbacks at the time were not coming to Denver. I knew that certain players weren't coming to Denver. There are certain players out there that he's coming to Denver. It's a shoe-in. You remember those videos?
Yes.
But we got ridiculed and bombarded by trolls and people that say, "Oh, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be talking about Denver." And what happened? We were proved right again when Matthew Stafford went to Elway, which was one of his top two destinations. I think it was between them and the Colts. We were right about this whole Justin Fields, Trey Lance thing. Well, I was with the Trey Lance.
You were right about Trey Lance. Yeah.
You were right about Drew Lock. He's a dead man walking. We'll get into that. And then I was right about Bridgewater. I was right about Rodgers. I was right about all this. Now, I'm not going to take all the credit. Obviously, I've been wrong in some places, but when you take a step back and look at it, you're right. When you started off this video, we are probably 90% on the money. What has happened to this team this offseason? It's just playing out like a violin all through what's happened this offseason.
But, here's the difference between 2017 and now. Here's the difference. You don't have let's do this. I want you to play this game with me, and it'll make a point. It'll make the point.
Okay.
Not only come back in my time machine, you can come in my time machine, but we're going to go to an alternate universe. In this alternate universe, Pat Bowlen has been dead. We're going to go back to 2014. We're getting ready for the 2015 season. Okay. Nothing changed in Denver from 2020 to 2021. We have Locke and we have Bridgewater competing at cornerback because Pat Bowlen wasn't around. He already died long ago to bring in and secure Peyton Manning. There's no Wade Phillips. But what we have is the current situation here at 2021 in 2014. In this alternate universe, the big news is that Cam Newton is upset and totally ready to leave the Carolina Panthers. Where's the number one place that he is supposed to go? Cam Newton. Remember 2014 was Cam Newton. And then, when 2015, it went to the stratosphere. He's going to be the next big thing. Cam Newton. It's Cam Newton. He's coming to the Denver Broncos. That's all. And take a look now. Let's fast forward to 2021. I will bet you, and anybody else out there, when this is said and done, Mac Jones is going to end Cam Newton's career. But if you go back there, it's, Cam Newton. This is the difference between what's going on in 2017 and now. You have Dove Valley totally convinced that if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, they're going to get Deshaun Watson. You see the other platforms already, they can't leave it alone. And let me ask you this, too. We're talking about quarterbacks. In my view, it's just totally unpopular. To me, both Rodgers and more to a more degree, Rodgers to a lesser degree, but Watson to a further degree, I think they're both toxic, in my opinion. I believe Deshaun Watson, I honestly think that Deshaun Watson wanted to get the hell out of Houston, not so much because of the Texans, maybe some of it, but I think bigger was what the legal tsunami that was ready to hit him. I think he knew what was coming. Why do you want this kind of toxicity? And you know what? We got, in my opinion, we also have toxicity right now in the front office at Dove Valley. And toxicity breeds toxicity. It attracts toxicity. I wish we could just let those two circuses, quarterback circuses, just go somewhere else. I could see, like I said, I can see Aaron Rodgers not coming here because of the fact that this thing just blew up, this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and Aaron Rodgers' response to Mark Schlereth. But I could see Deshaun Watson absolutely coming here as long as the toxicity in the front office with John Elway is there. If that's even possible. Right now, Watson is in so much legal... There's so much legal problems with that situation.
I'll get it, but I want to take a couple steps back and talk about your whole Mac Jones and Cam Newton thing. I think Cam Newton was ruined when he faced Von Miller in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That's when he was ultimately – and I was sitting there that season. I'm like, this isn't going to last. Because guys like Colin Kaepernick, for example, guys like Cam Newton, guys like Lamar Jackson, the NFL is going to figure them out. They figured out Colin Kaepernick. They figured out Cam Newton. They figured out Robert Griffin III when he was in with the Washington football team. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who is another version of Robert Griffin III and Colin Kaepernick put together. He's not the same build as Cam Newton. But I was saying that season after that Super Bowl, I'm like, yeah, Cam Newton's ruined. Because Von Miller ruined his psyche. Von Miller ruined his whole career. That's why.
It was exposed. You got to get to him.
Well, he hasn't been the same since. That next season was one of the best. And this is off topic, but I want to bring it up. That next season in 2016, when they came to Denver, he got bombarded with T.J. Ward, Darian Stewart, Jared Crick, Todd Davis. Remember him? All these just maulers that were hitting him. It ruined his career because ultimately, in his psyche, he understood like, oh wow, they can actually hit me because he's 6'5", 200 pounds, muscled up. You can hit a guy like that. You can't hit Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady because they're not the same build as a Cam Newton. That's why the refs are letting certain NFL teams hit Cam Newton because he's a different breed. He's a different type of breed. And he is you could say Mac Jones is going to take his job. I think you're right. I think you're onto something there. But his career is already ruined a la 2015.
Well, of course it was. Of course it is. But let me ask you this. 2014, leading up to the Super Bowl in 2015, what did all we hear? That wasn't Cam Newton the biggest, brightest, shiniest new quarterback? This is the new thing. This is why we don't talk about quarterbacks all the time because they come and go. And here's look at Patrick Mahomes. Let me ask you this. I'm going to lose the computer in a sec. I got to plug it in. So let me ask you this. If Cam Newton ends up on the Bengals or ends up in Jacksonville, these two teams become the Kansas City Chiefs all of a sudden? Just be honest with me.
No, I don't think if he goes to the Bengals or Jaguars because I think they got Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence that they're building around.
No. Back when Mahomes was drafted.
Back. Okay, so you're saying that Sorry. With Cam Newton, if he went to the Bengals and the Jaguars?
No. I'm talking about the quarterback position and the overhyping of the quarterbacks. I'm saying just this scenario when the draft was going on, or maybe even he goes to Chicago, if Patrick Mahomes goes to instead of the Kansas City Chiefs, he goes to these other teams. Do these other teams all of a sudden become the Kansas City Chiefs? Of course they don't. We saw in the Super Bowl what Mahomes looks like when things break down, and that's not a dig on him. This goes to you got to put quarterbacks, and this is what I put in the show notes. You got to put quarterbacks in successful organizations for them to succeed. Period. End of story.
You think that if Josh Allen came to Denver instead of Buffalo, he would have the same success that he is having in Buffalo?
Ask all the Buffalo Bill fans. They came on. They told you that Denver does not have the patience to develop a quarterback. They know. Everybody around the league knows this. That's why the model in Denver, you got sports talk radio. The one thing they hang on to, is that we know what championship quarterbacks look like. They're Elway and they're Manning. Okay, how often does a Peyton Manning or an Elway come out? And if you're even Broncos got lucky just with both of them. Lucky that Pat Bowlen was around.
Can I just say this? Besides Pat Bowlen, what did Peyton Manning do when he came to Denver? Didn't he look at the roster and be like, okay, I have guys like a Ryan Clady, a Chris Cooper, a J.D. Walton, Louis Vasquez, and Orlando Franklin when he wasn't on sports talk radio. You had a really solid offensive line. Thank you, Josh McDaniels. I'm shocked, but he
comes from that system. They understand offensive lines in New England.
Yes.
Hate them all you want. But they understand.
That goes back to your Tom Brady argument. Would he have had the same success if he went to Cleveland than he went to?
No.
Because Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft and all those people up there in management knew that to build an NFL team, and now Tampa Bay is doing it, and now Kansas City, all these other teams are understanding that you have to have a good offensive line you have to have a really good offensive line to.
Well, wait, time out. Didn't you hear John Clayton, who's on the Bronco payroll? Didn't you hear what he said? We have the best offense. You just don't understand. We have the best offensive line.
Okay. Against lesser competition, yes. But when we go against Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, we have one of the worst.
Yep.
And that is my point in a nutshell. When we go against these top units, these top dogs, let's say, in the NFL, the National Football League, when they neutralize our offense, we don't have a counter to that because Pat Shurmur is so dead set on one thing, go vertical. He's so dead set on drawing up weird aspects on an offense where you have a tight end not staying the block to help a Drew Lock, for example. Like stuff like that. That what blows my mind about and it's gonna show itself again this year. It might not because they're gonna be so conservative, but you're gonna see an offense where when we face the Jaguars, when we face the Raiders, when we face the Chargers to a degree, you're going to see this offense explode. But when we face like the Giants, for example, the football team, the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs, where's that offense going to be? 15, 17 points a game.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay, this segues us into this. I have a question for you. And I have a question for everybody, every Bronco fan out there. I need you to answer this question because I can't wrap my head around it. You know, I just wanted to explain to me. Okay, first of all, let's establish this. The hype around the Denver Broncos offense is that it's high-powered. It just is minus a quarterback. Am I wrong about the hype?
You're not wrong.
Okay. So we have receivers. We've got a running back too. Oh my God! And the offensive line is a juggernaut. That's the hype. Now my question is to all you people that buy into this: why, if Dove Valley's putting that out and the National is echoing what they're saying, basically that's what's going on. Why then are the Denver Broncos committing to conservative? We have all these receivers. We have this explosive thing. Oh, you're trying to tell me that so it's only Aaron Rodgers that gets the keys to this Ferrari? Is that it? Why is it that this juggernaut offense is ready to? It's going to be the best offense in the NFL. Why then are we going conservative? Just answer that question for me.
I think we're going conservative because I think that Dove Valley's pushing the narrative that Drew Lock is the turnover quarterback. I think that we're going conservative because I think that Doug Valley knows, just like we know, that when we face tougher competition, like we just talked about, that they're going to get eaten alive. They are going to show their true colors. Now, when we face like the Jaguars and the Detroit and those lesser competitions, yeah, it's going to show himself. But I think that doing it, I was the first person saying that it was going to be conservative once they brought Teddy Bridgewater in, because I knew what Teddy Bridgewater is all about. Teddy Bridgewater is a conservative, low-key, low-risk quarterback. Now, we could talk about how, going conservative is the best thing that can happen to this team because we have a great defense and we have a top 5 offensive line with Javonte Williams.
But you're telling me, I mean you, not you, but you're telling me, Dove Valley, and all your propaganda and all your paid for writers and your paid for platform, you're all telling me how this is an offensive juggernaut. How can you possibly be going conservative? I'm asking you, Dove Valley. How can you possibly do that? And when you promoted going 20 plus yards just the year before, how am I supposed to wrap my head around this conservative narrative?
Because you know what? Because we have no stability in the organization. We have no stability. We have no system that we are committing to. What did I say earlier? We have no system we have no identity on this offense. We have no identity on this offense.
Zero.
We have zero identity. That's why you saw, we're going to go 20 plus yards. Pat Shurmur, we're going 20 plus yards this year. Now we're going to go conservative. Because we know that we're going to get Aaron Rodgers next year. It's going to happen. He's going to have keys to this Ferrari. It's not a Ferrari, okay? It's an old ass. It's a terrible, okay? I can't say it, but it's bad. Okay,
I can't.
I hate to tell you, you're not getting Aaron Rodgers. That's one thing I'm going to say. I'll put out there before everybody. He is not going to come to this organization.
I was saying it when that whole report was coming out during the draft. I said that whole report, this whole Aaron Rodgers thing it's bullshit.
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers was talking to Elway. I think there was talk going on, but that's all it was. And I think once it turned in, it just blew into something else that it wasn't even. You got Aaron Rodgers coming out. He didn't come out to anybody else, but he came right after Schlereth. And, of course, STR tries to, downplay it, but they don't do the second half. When I decide where I'm going, you'll be the first one to know. I think that just really, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for him. And I think he's going to do what Brady did, what Stafford did, and he's going to be the third to snub the Denver Broncos. I know fans think the Denver Broncos is the number one place that anybody possibly would go, and they're going to be disappointed. And then it's all going to be Deshaun Watson. Oh my God, Deshaun Watson. A la Cam Newton.
Yeah, a la Cam Newton. Can I just say this with the whole running back aspect? Okay, everybody's saying that Javonte Williams was the best running back in that draft. Then why did Najee Harris go before him?
No, crickets.
Yeah, exactly. Why did Najee Harris go before him?
Answer that question.
Last to the second round. If you guys are saying that he is a great running back. He is a great running back. He is the next. What were they saying? The next great running back to come to Denver.
Probably the next Earl Campbell. I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. The next Terrell Davis. Why did he last to the second round? Exactly.
Yeah.
Point. Again, it just Yep.
So let's talk about this for a minute. The Sports Talk Radio had Chad Brown on, and the question was, Chad Brown obviously felt Elway should have been fired. I mean, shocker that would actually, somebody would have the guts to say that. Former player. And the question was, well, where would you fire him? Where would you fire him? When would you fire him? I know when I would, but I want to hear you. What the question is, when would John Elway be fired?
After 2015.
Exactly.
Because I think that after 2015, we clearly saw the de-shedding of this good roster. The likes of Aqib Talib, letting Malik Jackson go, paying Derek Wolfe over him. I thought it was a mistake at the time. Letting Danny Trevathan go, signing Brandon Marshall instead. I thought it was a mistake at the time. Getting Donald Stevenson over a Mitchell Schwartz. Getting a Russell Okung. Getting a Melik Watson. Getting
we go on and on and on and on and on.
It was just in trading away the dogs. Remember that quote? What did Aqib Talib say? John Elway's getting rid of the dogs. You got rid of the identity of your defense when you let Malik Jackson go, when you let Danny Trevathan go, when you let Aqib Talib go, when you cut T.J. Ward. What I thought was, I was like, okay, yeah, you got to get rid of Elway. Without letting Vance Joseph know. Vance Joseph didn't know about it until the final decision was made that they were going to cut. So stuff like that, after 2015, we were clearly seeing it on his face again this year. No stability, quarterback. We are not building a roster to sustain success for the future.
Yeah, just ignore every quarterback out there. What you do is you pluck them off of trees. When Aaron Rodgers fall from the sky, that's when you have a quarterback. Other than that, don't worry about it. Just wait for Aaron Rodgers. Wait for Tom Brady, who will never be here. Aaron Rodgers, who will never be here. Matthew Stafford, who didn't want to come here. If that's your model, then you definitely got problems. You better start recalculating. Now, here's when I would have fired John Elway. You're right, 2015. But all that Malik Jackson stuff wouldn't have happened because I would have fired him the second he fired Wade Phillips. Pat Bowlen told you he did not want Vance Joseph. He told you that. You did everything you could to destroy everything Pat Bowlen put in place. You did everything to destroy that leash that was put on you. You were going to show everybody how smart you were, and you weren't smarter than the owner. One thing you did us a favor is, Pat Bowlen would have screwed us. One thing you did, John Elway, that saved us as Bronco fans, you turned down ownership. Thank you for doing that. Thank God you did that. You should have been fired the second you fired Wade Phillips. That should have been you both should have went out the door then. But there was no Pat Bowlen to do that. Obviously, the other guy, Ellis, couldn't do it. That's not his role. He's there to say yes, Mr. Elway.
Going back to that, I think you bring up a great point. I still, to this day, think that if Wade Phillips was still on this defense, I think it still would have been a top 10 unit, just because of his ability to get the best out of players, like a Vic Fangio. And this
timeout.
Had Wade Phillips been there and we got rid of John Elway, let's say those two, it flip-flopped. We would have the whole player personnel structure would be completely different. We wouldn't have been getting rid of certain players. We would have been bringing in other players that never existed because Wade Phillips wasn't there to bring them in. And we're stuck in the same, Vic Fangio's stuck in the same situation, in the no-win situation. He cannot get the player personnel. He does not have the luxury to do what he did in Chicago. We've been over this.
Can I go ahead?
Oh, no, I'm done. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
No, I'm just saying that we've been over this, that And we're the only ones that will talk about the structure of the Chicago Bears in player personnel versus the structure of the Denver Broncos in player personnel. What Fangio was able to do in Chicago versus what Fangio. This translates to how Wade Phillips also put we've talked about Wade Phillips too. Was he ahead of his time? Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to bring up something. This is just something about how Fangio's getting the best out of players. I was thinking about this last night. What is going to happen when Fangio leaves and you have Justin Simmons, the highest paid safety in the National Football League? Who's made Justin Simmons the player that he has been the past 2 years? Who got him paid? That's been Fangio.
Yeah, Vic Fangio.
Every team that he goes to, the safeties succeed what they're supposed to succeed. Guys like Eddie Jackson hasn't been the same since Fangio has been gone. When he was with the Niners, when he was with the Dome Patrol in New Orleans, when he was with the Carolina Panthers, he in his system, the safeties are a big part. That's why you see them get paid. That's why you saw an Adrian Amos get paid and went to Green Bay. Stuff like that. Wait till he leaves, because when Justin Simmons had Joe Woods, who they fired Wade Phillips for. We have Joe Woods in the wings. He's the next up and coming defense coordinator. Remember that when they had the best coaching staff in the league with Vance Joseph, Mike McCoy, and Joe Woods. Remember that when they were pushing that? They said that Joe Woods is the next up and coming defensive coordinator, and Justin Simmons in that defense was struggling year after year after year from 2017 to 2018. Or 2016 to 2018, I believe. So you don't sit here and tell me that Justin Simmons was this great safety a la 2019, 2018. He was getting exposed at will. So, yes, Wade Phillips was ahead of his time. We've already talked about that. Wade Phillips was ahead of his time. I believe if he was still in Denver, this defense would be completely different if he had the control like Pat Bowlen gave him to get the control, to get a DeMarcus Ware, Keep Talib, TJ Ward, a Bradley Roby, guys like that can help transform a defense, a Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, stuff like that. That's what you need. And you got rid of Adam Peters, who drafted Danny Trevathan in the 7th round, Malik Jackson in the 6th round. You're getting rid of all your good talent evaluators, too.
You know why? Because there's only one voice that has to be heard.
Yep, that's how.
And I can't understand how people can't see that. It just boggles my mind.
I can't understand why people can't I can't understand why people can't see that. How is this George Payton's team? Do these moves make any sense from a George Payton's perspective?
No.
No, the guy in the front office has to go. That's the only way it changes. The only problem is, believe it or not, you could get worse. And it's hard to believe. It's possible.
This team, once Elway's gone and once we're out of that, and hopefully we get a good owner, I'm hoping it's Peyton Manning in some type of group. I really do. I don't know.
Yeah, we and you disagree.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but something like that, you have stability. You have George Payton do his job. You get out of the way. You let him do his job. That's why they brought him in on a 6-year contract. You need to understand from a organizational perspective that a lot of these players that are on this roster, ladies and gentlemen, are not going to be on this team 2-3 years from now. They're not going to be on this team 2 to 3 years from now. They're not going to be. You're Von Miller, and exactly this brings up a point with Wade Phillips. So what has happened to Von Miller since Wade Phillips has left?
Well, what has happened to
Downhill.
what has happened to Von Miller when he doesn't have a Malik Jackson teamed up with Derek Wolfe? That's the key. That was the key. That again goes back to the Tampa model. What Tampa's doing. It's the same model the Los Angeles Rams put in. It's the model that the Buffalo Bills.
Wait. They don't have a Von Miller. They have an Aaron Donald. Now that's a different story. He's a defensive lineman, and it's easier to get pressure up the middle than on the edge. We've already gone through that. I'm sorry, but They have Aaron Donald. We have Von Miller. Von Miller is a different player than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is more of your A and B gap penetrator, and Von Miller is more of your outside linebacker, power rush.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. We're talking about defenses that know about the push up the middle.
Yep.
But when you have both, Wade Phillips had both. It's called the pincer attack. It's where Brady, one thing Tom Brady bemoans, that's the giant Super Bowl loss. I could tell you, watching that game, there was no way in hell Brady was even had a prayer in that game. I said, this is easily going to be the Giants because they were in his face all the time. He had no prayer. No prayer. You're not going to go back in time and win that. You will lose every time, Tom Brady.
Remember the 2015 AFC Championship game?
Yes.
It was the same exact thing. He got five times game.
I posted the link.
Penetration up the middle. The coverage linebackers with the Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall when healthy. The guys like that. It's the Tampa Bay model. That's why I'm saying Wade Phillips is ahead of his time.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at. And Vic Fangio has a version of that that's kind of his version of that. But he can't do it here. Elway is dead set to be hard on the edges and soft in the middle. And lousy over the top. Lousy over the top. Oh, but we got the corners. But the corners aren't getting the help that the corners in Chicago was giving their players like Fuller. They got help when needed. All the time. They weren't left on an island by themselves.
Can I just say this, and let me ask you a question. You think offensive linemen, particularly when we face the Ravens, when we face the Steelers, when we face all these other the Chiefs, you think that they're afraid of Shelby Harris and Draymond Jones?
No.
And that's what you have with Vic Fangio here in Denver.
Whoa. Don't stop there. I showed the Jets game. I filmed the Jets game. They struggled against the offensive line of the Jets. They struggled.
In Buffalo.
Well, it wasn't even a contest.
They didn't even have to double team neither of those players. They just, you know what? Brian Winters, you can go against Draymond Jones. The left guard for the Bills, you can go against Shelby Harris. Yeah, Shelby Harris, you're a good player. You can bat down balls. But when it comes to penetration up the middle, and when you need that penetration up the middle in critical moments, instead of just batting down balls, what is going to be more effective? Batting down balls or getting pressure on the quarterback to make him timid?
Well, you have to be consistent with batting down balls if you're going to do that.
But what? I'm going to ask you this real quick, and then you can go. Sorry. Let me say this. If you were a defensive coordinator, would you rather have a defensive lineman in a 3 technique to bat down balls consistently or get pressure up the middle? To make the quarterback timid and make him lose sight of his first, second, and third reads?
I would want, if I'm the guy, the GM, I'm going to want both. I'm going to want the pressure up the middle. Over the guy batting balls. If I can get batted balls, I'll take that too. But what I want is pressure up the middle, number one, and I want the edge rushing, number two. I want both of that. I want the edge rushing, and I want that Wade Phillips model. I want that. I want that Wade Phillips model because I know everything else is like a clock working around that. Now I wanted to say this. Don't just stop at those teams. There was one other film I showed. Draymond Jones struggling. It was against the Raiders. They had a guy who could basically keep him off with one hand. This guy, he was just laughing at Draymond Jones. That's all he could do. And this Raider guard, it was a right guard, their version of
Gabe Jackson.
Just with one hand behind his back keeping him. It was pathetic. I show this film. Thumbs down, thumbs down. Your thumbs down isn't going to change anything.
Miami. That's another team. Miami.
Well, no, that was the one they actually looked halfway decent.
Okay, the Chargers.
They look pretty good against the Chargers.
I wouldn't. Yeah, Shelby Harris did. But Draymond Jones
Yeah.
got those covered sacks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Now they're hyping up Draymond Jones to be this next Aaron Donald-esque player.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what we're.
Let me guess. This must be coming from those online platforms that
Yeah.
lie to the Browns Bronco fans.
Both.
That's another reason Elway's got to go. There's just, you got to stop lying. That's why I said I would take Josh McDaniels just for the fact that they wouldn't allow all this stuff to go on. They would be critical like us. They would sound more like us.
Yes.
And I will take that every time. I was going to say I disagree with the Peyton Manning group thing. If I had it, because to me it's just the what we have now 2.0. Too many cooks in the pot, people who ultimately too many people. Granted, the owners that they've showcased, of course it's STR, they've showcased, you want to puke. Where's the Pat Bolins at? I don't care about Bezo. Bezo is not Bolin. Bezo, he's got agendas, and the Broncos would just be another, yeah. You're not going to get the Pat Bolin touch. It's just an investment. That's it. Nothing more.
There's one thing I'd have to disagree with you. I think if you bring in a Peyton Manning in this organization, I think he has a completely different mindset than a John Elway. I don't think that. Now, I hear what you're saying, and I could get on board with what you're saying. There's two things I have to tell you about this whole ownership situation, and I want to get your take on that real quick. If you have a John Elway in a group, I think, or Peyton Manning in a group, my apologies, I think that Peyton Manning would be more inclined to be like, okay, let George Payton run this team, because I think that he loved Pat Bowlen to a degree that the whole reason he came to Denver was because of Pat Bowlen.
He understands. Yes, he understands Bowlen.
That's what I'm saying. He understands the culture that was in place when Pat Bowlen was here. Did Elway understand the culture? Yes, but we all know this. He had too big of an ego. We all knew this as a player. When he was even a player, he had too big of an ego. But with Peyton Manning, I think that he wants to get back into football. He still lives in Denver. That shows a lot to me that, hey, you know what? He wants to be part of this organization someday. And another thing that I think that he would be inclined to be like, okay, George Payton is the man. Let him do his thing, and I'm gonna run things like organizational problems. I'm gonna run things in a way that an owner should run it. Stuff like that here won't meddle. I think that Peyton Manning would be excellent in that aspect.
Well, now, wait a second. You're acting as if Peyton Manning's the only one. This is the problem.
No, not just that. I think that the people that will buy it, I think that Manning would be a sounding board in the between George Payton and that, to be like, hey, let him do his job. I'm here.
Well,
you guys do what you got to do.
How long? Sure, in the beginning, but how long before the other people get in and say, look, this is what I think. And then that's the problem. How you don't know those other people. You don't know, and I agree. I think in the beginning it would be like that. But as time went on, people would want to have their 2 cents heard. If it was just Peyton Manning, sure, that I would take Peyton Manning and cross my fingers over all these other so-called billionaire owners for sure. Absolutely. But my worry really comes in who are these other people? And down the road, okay, I sat and I was patient. Now I got to say, and all three of us, Peyton Manning, we have a say, we're going to now trump you because we think this is, that's the problem with cooks in the kitchen, no matter any business. Eventually, people are going to want their say.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's a big unknown, But I would take again, it's even more. It is more attractive than Bezo.
And Elon Musk.
Elon, oh God, yeah, any of that, because these people just wouldn't, it's just an investment.
I think that if it wasn't Peyton Manning, I hope it is, but I'm on board. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think that you need to go after a billionaire that's not in the news, that's kind of just like he knows football. He wants to own a team. He's been wanting to own a team for a while. He understands the aspects of what Pat Bowlen left in place. I think what you're going to see is somebody probably from Denver that they're going to go after. Whoever it is, it might be an unknown, but I don't know a lot of people in Denver that are billionaires. But like I said, I think what is going to happen, they're going to sell the team, obviously, and I think it's going to be somebody from Denver that knows what Pat Bowlen did and knows the legacy. I really hope that's the case, because if they go after Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, this is going to be the Dan Snyder before he let Ron Rivera and then do their job, a la 28-19.
Well, answer this. Was the Beth Bowlen lawsuit about who gets the right to sell it?
Yes.
And that becomes the trust. That's the problem. They fucked everything else up. I'm sure they'll fuck this up too.
Probably. Most likely. They probably will, honestly. Now that you say it, yeah. I knew. That's why they dropped the lawsuit. And STR is saying that, it's going to be for Brittany Bowlen. She's going to be the next. She's not going to be the next owner of the day.
Of course, she's not going to be the next.
Please stop with that. Please stop with that narrative. It's not going to happen. Okay.
Well, they're in the minority now. That used to be, but that's the minority. That's, making Mrs. Bowl, the latest Bowlen wife, happy. The bottom line, we know that everybody has to, that Beth Bowlen Wallace is never going to agree that Brittany's, and you know what? I think there is truth, and then it's kind of leaked out that Pat Bowlen knew out of all of the kids, Beth Bowlen Wallace was probably the closest thing to him out there. And I, from everything I see of Brittany, she's an empty suit, and I will keep saying that. Just your typical corporate empty suit. I think Beth Bowlen Wallace absolutely has the armor that her father has. But that'll never happen either, because the Brittany and the mother will never go for, yeah. So it's a stalemate, and the stalemate goes to another into ownership.
Yep.
That's the way it is.
Yep, and unfortunately, that's one of the failures of Pat Bowlen. I believe he should have just sold the team.
Well, I don't think he saw it coming. That it was going to happen so quick. I'm going through our talking points. I think we hit everything. It's very difficult for me and you to get together. It's not easy, is it?
It's not. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to even on our time away from these magical moments of being together, that we can even, really analyze a lot of things that we'd like to. I want to go at some point. I got to go to this training camp. I'll have to wait. I'm raising the floor. I'm getting like a mud jack deal done, so I've got to get that done before I could ever think about going to Dove Valley. But I'm still going to stick by my. They just want to get Bridgewater past the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's kind of where I'm seeing all this going.
Yep, I think. Well, then the videos that you keep showing me, it's Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater's going to, these YouTube videos that you're sending me. Teddy Bridgewater, he's going to win the job because of his consistency factor. Just stuff like that is just like, you guys are out of your freaking mind that you think that Teddy Bridgewater is this all-world consistent quarterback when he was the back for a reason. When he went to Carolina, who had the same exact receiver skill set that we have with the Robbie Anderson, the Moore. I think it's like I forgot his first name, but Moore. I think he's a top 10 receiver. And then you have Curtis Samuel, and then you had Christian McCaffrey, and then he got
injured.
Yeah, he got injured, but still, you had Mike Davis, who had a breakout year. So stuff like that, I think you had a better offensive line in Carolina than you do in Denver. Just my opinion, because they have Matt Paradis and they just paid Taylor Moton, whatever his name is, Taylor Moton, a top 10 tackle money. Stuff like that. They have a better offensive line in there with Russell Okung there than we have in Denver. So,
well, they this is why I said the Broncos are going to say Drew Lock. They're going to give Drew Lock the nod to get in with the idea they want to get rid of him. They don't want. I'm telling you, they do not want Bridgewater to face the Ravens and Pittsburgh. I'm telling you, they want. Everybody's going to be hemming and hawing about. No matter how good Lock does, they're going to be hemming and hawing like Lock didn't do this. You're going to keep hearing that up because they're waiting. Because they know how their offense is going to struggle. They don't want to have Bridgewater shown struggling against those two teams and starting this. Well, wait a minute. They want Bridgewater to be the savior. See how smart we are. Bridgewater saved us from Drew Lock, who struggled against these top defenses. I'm telling you, you watch, because I know how that guy thinks up there.
And it's going to be funny because when we see this team finish below 500 again, we're just a quarterback away. We're just Aaron Rodgers away.
Well, that was the whole reason. Teddy Bridgewater ruined it. Drew Lock ruined it. We've seen championship quarterbacks before. We know what it is. It's Aaron Rodgers. So let's just build a whole organizational philosophy about getting lucky every 20 years. And getting lucky that some quarterback's going to get pissed off at his organization, and they just have to come here. Out of all the teams, they just have to come here, which they're not. It's a failed philosophy just to look at Elway and Manning and say, that's what we're looking for.
Can I ask you, how is this team Tampa Bay away?
It's not.
They went 5-11. They went 5-11.
It's not even about 5-11. It's the player personnel they have.
Exactly. That's why they went 5-11.
An offensive line that can hang with the big dogs, a defensive line that can hang with the big dogs, a linebacking core that gets shredded, a safety.
Again, that you're going to see that again this year.
Safeties that get shredded, not just over the top, but in the linebacking area where they're supposedly supposed to be helping. They get shredded both ways. So, I don't know what. And then we have an offensive coordinator that doesn't even know how to use Fant.
Can I ask you this? Why would Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson want to learn under Pat Shurmur?
Well, I think Watson just wants to get the hell out of that.
Well, if logically speaking, why would you come here? Why? Why would you come here?
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Was it McCarthy? Who was the fallout?
Mike McCarthy.
Okay, his offense versus Shurmur. You tell me.
Mike McCarthy or Pat Shurmur? I think they're the same.
You don't think McCarthy's a little bit better?
No, because look what he's doing in Dallas.
Okay, so again, if you had a problem with McCarthy, then how could you possibly want? That's my question.
Problem here in Denver.
Yeah.
Why would you come here? Like, seriously, Bronco fans, let me ask you this. The year before they got Tom Brady, what record did they finish with? 9-7.
Well, that's what we're going to do here. It's going to be 9-7. Bridgewater's going to give us 9-7. And we're Tampa Bay. And this is what's funny is they couldn't understand why Brady wanted to go to Tampa Bay in the first place.
I hope Aaron Rodgers comes here so it can prove what me and you are saying, that this team is not 13-3 Super Bowl bound. 14-3, 14-2? Or 4?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Game's messing me up. But for the sheer fact that Aaron Rodgers you know what? And I don't want Aaron Rodgers because he's a diva. I didn't want Deshaun Watson because he's a diva. I don't want a diva quarterback. I just want a quarterback that we can put in the system, like the Shanahan system, like the Andy Reid system, something like that. Something like that. We can build an offense, that we have an offense and an offensive identity, that we have a quarterback that we can stick to and develop. That's what Buffalo's done. That's what the Baltimore's done. The Colts, the Colts really, it's Philip Rivers once Luck retired, but they're still sticking with Luck. But the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Chargers are starting to do it. Please, for the love of God, can we just stick with the quarterback and just be like, okay, let's build a team around the freaking quarterback instead of just being like, oh, we're going to get a quarterback, and then he's going to get hurt like Joe Burrow did in Cincinnati, and there goes our season. They didn't have an offensive line. You're the first person saying it, and we all knew he was going to get hurt. Damn, it just blows.
We are Bengals. We are Bengals.
Third-time platforms out there. Oh, don't sleep on Deshaun Watson actually coming to Denver, according to the latest trade rumors. Yeah, you're going to get 6.2K views, but you know what? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, this team is trash. This team isn't very good. What on this team are you confident in?
I would say
the 2-minute drill. We saw in the 2-minute drill last year that we were pretty good. You were the first person saying that. I agreed with you. But other than that, you really trust Jerry Jeudy to go in the middle of the field? You really trust Cortland Sutton to stay healthy after an ACL injury? Look how long it took Bradley Chubb to get back to form. Go ahead.
No. I believe this team is middle of the road at best. At best, it's
below that.
I believe it's middle of the road. Well, I don't have very much faith. You gave the Giants. I definitely don't give the Giants as much faith as you gave them. I don't give a lot of teams too much faith. I just think the Broncos are just another muddling in the middle type team or below average. Muddling in the middle to below average. It's because they don't have Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers.
It's the reason why I give the Giants a better chance in Denver, because they actually have a philosophy that actually is going to pay off at the end when you keep getting defensive linemen and offensive linemen, and you could put people in that when you have a Jason Garrett who understands that offensive line play is very important, and you have Joe Judge who came from the New England system, and that's why they got Andrew Thomas. That's why they got a Dexter Lawrence, a David Tomlinson, a Leonard Williams. That's why I give them a little bit more of a shot than Denver.
Well, what I'm saying is they lost their push up the middle. They lost their D lineman. He went somewhere else.
David Tomlinson did, but they still have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams.
Well, their own people say they're not quite up to that standard. So, they're hoping that it's kind of like, will these other guys be Malik Jackson kind of a thing. So.
But let me ask you this. Do you see that they actually kind of have a clue on how to build an NFL team, though?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The Denver Broncos don't. We're going to be hard on the edges. We're going to get receivers. We're just going to,
We're a rent-a-center. We are a rent-a-center. We have no identity other than we're a rent-a-center.
Quarterback every 20 years.
Yeah. Well, when when Aaron Rodgers falls in your lap, well, then you got a quarterback. That's all you do. When somebody else gets in trouble with the law, he could come over and be on your team.
I want that on my team.
Oh, yeah, of course you do. Of course you do.
I want that on my team because I know I'm going to trust that guy. Yeah, and I know he's going to be a leader of men. Remember that? Leader of men?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the world that's being generated out there for the Denver Broncos. That's why we don't get the views. That we don't peddle the garbage. And we will be hated. The thumbs down, and it's not going to change the way things are. Things are going to keep going the way they're going to keep going. We're another season of being lied to right before the season. Another big high sales pitch right before the season. It's so bad that even Reisner was complaining about it. Reisner was sounding more like us than the feel-good Kool-Aid crowd.
And that's actually a player I'm ecstatic for. I love Reisner. I love Dalton Reisner. I love him and Quentin Miners. Those are my two favorite offense, and Tay Moody. If you started all three of those players and let them develop, my goodness gracious, you could have a good, solid interior offensive line. But they don't bring up Natane Moody. Graham Glasgow's the savior. We all knew that was a wreck because me and you said that was a bad signing.
We don't develop players.
No, we don't talk about the offensive line because they're top 10 unit according to John Clayton, the best in the AFC West. Top 5. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has supposedly the second best offensive line, so he's going to definitely want to come here. So by the way, I sent you apparently yesterday or whatever, it wasn't too long ago, that Aaron Rodgers turned down a contract. So he's going to have to retire. If he wants out, he's going to have to retire. That's the only way. And if you're going to sit out, you might as well just retire. Yeah. Give back the money and then end up going to the Colts. That's my number one place I think he'll end up is the Colts, not the Broncos. Yeah, it will not be the Broncos.
No.
And everybody's going to be shocked. They'll be mad at me. I'm going to get thumbs down for just saying that alone.
Remember, we got thumbs down for the Matthew Stafford thing.
Oh, I didn't know what I was talking about.
But the other online platforms got thumbs up and 5.2K views when they said that Matthew Stafford was a shoe-in to come to the Denver Broncos.
A shoe-in, quote, a shoe-in.
Quote, a shoe-in.
They put that right after I put out there's no way he's coming here. Yep, I noticed that. And they're always wrong all the time, but they have the con going. They know what the Kool-Aid drinkers want to hear.
Like Wavy. That you can be just like that. You can be just like that. Trust me. You can have a successful channel. Remember?
Yeah, I'm sure he did start a channel. I haven't looked.
He did. I'm sure he did.
But he can thank us for that. We told him.
Yeah. Well, you told him, Papa Bear.
Yeah. I told him. It's not hard to figure out.
It's not
hard to figure out.
Well, this has been a long one because why we are talking about, hold on, let me end with this. We're talking about quarterbacks, gods. Oh my God, if they just fall out of the sky, that's all you need. You know what championship looks like.
You know everything about football.
You know everything about football. Football. No bullshit. It's the quarterback. It's God. If you don't have God, you don't have shit. Yeah. If you don't have God, you don't have shit, and God is a quarterback.
Yep. You want a quarterback, you know everything about football. You know how to plug up the A and B gaps, you know what a cover 3, a shell defense is, you know what a cover 1 defense is, you know what a hitch concept is, you know what a play action zone running scheme is with the A and B gaps, with the tight end and going out in the flat. You know all of it.
A and B gaps, zone concepts, defensive models, offensive linemen, football. They don't have a mic like I have.
We're probably going to get a lot of views for this because you remember what we talking about?
Quarterback.
Quarterback equals views.
That's
damn straight.
That should be the title of your thing. Quarterbacks equals views.
Yeah, well, I'll come up with one. It'll definitely be quarterback. It'll probably be Elway has ditched both quarterbacks. We're just telling you. We're just telling you right now. And guess what, Aaron Rodgers? He's not coming to Denver. Wow! It's all over the place. Aaron Rodgers, just like Tom Brady and like Matthew Stafford, it's all over the place. Just like that. You heard Mark Schlereth, didn't you? He guaranteed it.
You heard it's a shoe-in. Quote, it's a shoe-in.
It's a shoo-in. Matthew Stafford to Denver. It's going to happen.
The betting odds with Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun, I'm in so much legal problems, I don't know what my head is. That guy has got legal. He's screwed. I think.
I think he's done.
Yeah, I think he's so screwed that I think the NFL is going to have to distance themselves from it, or because I'm thinking maybe these women think there's probably more money to be had in winning the case, because it could turn into a class action lawsuit because there's multiple people involved.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing could really turn ugly for him. So I wouldn't be. You got a nose up your armpit. That's all I have. That's all I have with our quarterback edition here.
That's all I have. Quarterbacks equals views. That's actually a good line. I might start using that. But
Quarterbacks equal views, exactly. Just talk about the virtues of Teddy Bridgewater and consistency. 6K views right there.
Perfect.
Yeah, this was our longest show too.
Really?
All right.
Alrighty.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.